Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at Warhammer Vermintide 2, finally. So, Vermintide 2 came out, and, well, it's pretty excellent from what I've played so far. I have played long enough to actually complete the main campaign on my own. I've actually solo played through it, well, with bots, just to see what that would be like, to kind of compare the bots to the first game's bots, and they are better, thankfully, and kind of get through it. I've had some problems here and there. I'll be talking about that because the game isn't bug-free. However, there have been a significant number of patches, well, a significant number of fixes in 4 main patches that have addressed a lot of the problems, actually, like a lot of really expedient, well-made bug fixes, actually, including one just today, the day of me recording this, that fixed a lot of crashes, including one that I specifically had in one of the missions. So that's good. And yeah, and it's, well, it's a pretty complete package, actually, at a pretty good price. So let's talk about that. And when I do the comparisons, by the way, in this video, and say, you know, between this game and the first game, I'm talking about specifically the first game at launch, because of course it would be sort of unfair, well, really unfair, to compare this game as it is right now at its launch versus the first game as it is right now when it's had a crap load of, you know, post-launch content and DLC and stuff like that, because they are very different beasts at this point, whereas the first game has had a huge amount of DLC and post-launch support poured into it, and this one just came out. So I'm going to compare both of them in their launch states. So what are some of the big differences? Well, Vermintide 2 has made some fairly significant changes to some of the more complained about aspects. For instance, let me show you some of the sort of loot aspects. You've got your basically similar equipment, and that every character, there are 5 characters, first of all, that have different bits of equipment, and going through missions will get you loot, and this loot will be tied to a character. However, one of the big differences is now every time you get said loot, it will be tied to the character you actually open it with. So if I was to open this, it would actually give me 3 pieces of loot for the character that I'm opening it with, as it says right here. Opening chest will generate loot for your currently selected character, which is a big deal. Unlike in the first game, where when you got loot at the end of a mission, you got 1 piece of loot and it was just random for someone. Now you actually get 3 pieces, and they're always for who you want, basically, which is pretty awesome. Also, the loot is a bit more exciting because not only are there lots more sort of weapon types and lots more variety in the movesets per weapon type, but some of the loot colors kind of change things up a bit. So if I look here, you'll see the different colors. You've got greens, for instance, which have a particular property, and blue, of course, has 2 properties. But if I go over here to this, which is orange, which is exotic, you can see that it has 2 properties and a special property, which is different. It's sort of unique to it. It says decanter down there. Increases the duration of potions by 50%. And that makes loot, as you go up the rarity ladder, more important, and kind of contribute to specific builds a bit more, I suppose, strongly, you could say, because these contributions are not just small percentage-based things, but actually fairly large, unique chunks of, I suppose, passive, almost. Yeah, basically they're like passives. They're large passive boosts or upgrades to things in a fairly exciting way, rather than small percentage-based boosts, which is, I think, pretty neat and a fun way to do loot. So they have improved the looting aspect in ways like that. Also, every character has a talent tree now, and actually I should rephrase that. Every character has 3 talent trees now, because every character also has 3 careers, as they're called, which I'll show you in just a minute. So as you level through the various, well, levels, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25, you will gain talent points, and you can actually just respec these whenever you want, which is really cool. And yeah, these will also contribute to a build. And I like the fact that you can respec these however you wish, because it allows you to just change on the fly if you're going to a specific mission. and you can want to change it up a little bit. And you can see here, your hero will have a passive, a skill, an active skill, and some other passives to go along with it that do a couple of things. There's also a crafting system, but I'm not really going to get into that and make this video like hideously long, but there is a crafting system that is fairly deep and allows you to break apart your things and piece them back together, or change the various passives and other things, or just do all sorts of stuff. So, I should explain this really quick. As you can see, 5 heroes, but every character also has 3 of these, which are called careers. Think of these basically as subclasses. So I'm currently playing Sienna, who is a bright wizard, who is mostly focused on fire. And the careers, as I said, are basically subclasses, and you start with 1, just the first one here, but as you level that character up at level 7 and then at level 12, you'll unlock the other 2 careers. And that will be the Pyromancer and the Unchained, respectively. And each of these will have a separate talent tree entirely, as well as separate passive and active abilities. They all use the same weapons, but they have completely different builds as a result of how they will work with said passives and actives. So I actually have not used the Unchained yet, but I am pretty excited to do so. So let's actually do that right now. Gonna get into a mission. I'm just gonna do a custom game with bots, so my talking and stuff doesn't interrupt anyone else's enjoyment. And we'll just do one of the first missions. I quite like this mission, actually, so let's do this on... I'm kind of tempted to go veteran and probably get the crap kicked out of me, but I'm just gonna do it on recruit. There are 4 difficulties, each one significantly more difficult than the last, adding more beasties and more spawn rates for the tougher beasties, as well as significantly scarcer spawn rates for helpful items. And let's do this. One other thing that they have changed or added to is the variety in this game in general, compared to vanilla Vermintide 1. For instance, not just weapon variety or character variety with the careers and things, but enemy variety as well. Not just do you have the Skaven now. Of course, the Raddies do make their reappearance with all of these special Raddies that entails as well, but now you've also got Chaos. Chaos is actually a faction, an enemy faction in this game too now. So you've got the Rotbloods chasing you down as well, and several special Chaos elites like, say, Life Leeches and Chaos Warriors, and a couple of other types of special Chaos, and even Chaos bosses like, say, Chaos Spawn, which can go die in fire because I hate those guys, and, oh god, Storm Vermin, and you've even got things like, oh gosh, what are they called? You know, I can't remember right now. Basically, the crazy giant, the things that, like, Hail Scourge is, the sort of, Nurglite priests that spew sickness everywhere. Oh, man. So, the Unchained is a class that appears to be... Oh, gotta have a horde. That mostly appears to be based around building up a lot of overcharge, that orange meter down there. We've got a gas rat somewhere around here. And then not blowing yourself up accidentally, and then blowing yourself up on purpose instead. Because the higher your overcharge is, the more melee damage you do. And I have a fire sword, because of course I do, it's a fire sword, why wouldn't I want that? And then blowing yourself up on purpose with the career skill of the Unchained to expend all of your overcharge in one big fiery blast around yourself to do a ton of damage to everything around you. It's pretty great. Basically the exact opposite of the normal Battle Wizard career, which is to expend your, or to dissipate your overcharge safely and not have to worry about building it up. Uh-oh, Gunner. So, yeah, each and every career works very differently, and that's the same for each character. And they also tend to require very different very different playstyles, which means, more or less you're going to be kind of, if you want to switch through them, you're going to be getting used to having different weapon loadouts and completely different loadouts of trinkets and things to kind of make the most of their passives and actives and how you should actually be using them. If I remember correctly, generally there's a boss around here. The very first time I ever did this mission, there was a chaos spawn. The first time I ever fought a chaos spawn. I also do remember where each of the tomes and grimoires is on this mission. Although, doing it with bots, it's impossible to actually get them to grab everything. Oh, that's lit. Throw it. But I do know where to get all of them on here. Tomes and grimoires are sort of a self-imposed difficulty. Tomes take up your healing item slot, so that you can't just carry around a healing item for when you need it. You have to basically switch out the tome with the healing item if you ever able to find one, and then switch back to the tome. And getting a tome to the end allows you a better loot reward. And there are 3, as you can see, on every mission. Grimoires take up your buffing potion slot, and you cannot drop them, if I recall correctly, once you have them, and they give you less maximum health, about 30% or so. And that works for everyone, not just the person holding it. So they screw over your entire group. Congratulations. But, oh, it's a Bile Troll this time. Uh-oh. Yeah, the bosses are randomized. You know what, let's blow ourselves up. Yeah. And, never actually used that before. And, but they give you a lot of a better loot roll at the end, if you're able to get them to be. And of course that does mean if you have both of them, since there are 2 grimoires in every level, you do have to complete the level with like 60% of your maximum health gone, which is pretty rough. But there are trinkets with a curse resistance passive, which makes it to where you don't have quite as much of that gone, quite as much of your health gone. So I do recommend having some of that with you if you do plan on doing Grim runs. Word to the wise, though, grimoires are very difficult to find in levels. They're genuinely difficult to actually find. Like, some of them require some really hard puzzles to get to, some of them are just really out of the way, and, like, you have to really look for them. Tomes are, if you're good at exploring and just look around a lot, generally speaking, you'll just naturally come across them. Grimoires are really just deviously hidden sometimes. This is the only level where I actually know where all 5 of the items are. All the other levels, I've yet to find every single one of them. Alright. The grimoire here is that way. The tome is this way. I'm not really worried about finding every single thing because, like I said, I'm with bots. But, for the sake of doing this, I'll go ahead and get 1 tome over here. This is not a guide video, but there is a tome right here. In this crate. There we go. I'll just let one of my friends pick up that draft. Okay, and there's a grimoire on the other, like, opposite side of this, way up on a rock that you have to jump to get in, like, a very strange way. It doesn't even look like you can actually grab it because no prompt actually shows up. I'm being called. Why am I being called? Oh my goodness. Anyway. Sorry about that. But, okay. Now, also, you may have not seen the map, but as far as content goes in the game right now, before any of the DLC or anything like that shows up, pretty good. You have 13 main missions. 13 missions is pretty significant because, of course, that is across... well, I mean, that's across 4 difficulties, because they're kind of meant to be replayed, because you're only going to be getting all of the really powerful, high rarity items on the like top 2 difficulties, and also generally speaking the really big like red rarity items on the highest difficulty. Good luck with that, by the way. Also, the missions are pretty long. Some of them are shorter than others. This one, for instance, isn't that long, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing it for the video, because I don't want to, you know, make this video like 40 minutes long, but some of them do get pretty sizable, which is, you know, which is good. You wouldn't want all the missions to be like 10 minutes long or anything. It's just, some of them are longer than others. Oh, I hear a hook rat. There it is. Is gone. Uh-oh. Where did I put that oil? And of course, you've got the factor of doing all of this with friends, which makes it significantly more enjoyable. Oh boy. The last 4 missions are sort of boss level champion missions that are quite a bit longer and involve a much more difficult boss fight at the end. Man, that's cool. And they're definitely challenging, especially the very last mission, the Skittergate, which lasts for quite a while and has a very tough kind of multi-stage boss fight at the end. It's very hard. Even on Recruit, I found it very, very difficult, and actually almost lost with bots. Probably because they wouldn't distract the boss away from my squishiness. Quite like I would hope. There's another tome over there, by the way. Second tome. Okay. Going in. So content-wise, I think for the price, you're actually getting quite a bit. And you also have to remember that with all the characters and careers, there's quite a bit of grinding these missions to do. Now what about future support? Well, oh, I couldn't actually see what was going on there from that. I think future support is pretty bright. If they support this game... Ooh, a loot die. If they support this game like they did the first one, which I don't... the banter between the characters, which I don't see why they wouldn't, then I think people that buy it right now are in for a really good time. Given that there was just such a significant amount of DLC. And I mean, some people may have complained about the amount of DLC, but I thought it was a really good idea because the DLC was reasonably priced. There were often lots of really good deals and sales on the DLC, and lots of packages for the DLC, and each DLC had a lot to it for the price. Like, lots of levels, just crap loads of extra stuff in it to do. So really, I didn't see a problem with the amount of DLC because each one had a lot to it. None of it seemed like a high price for little content to me, at least from what I recall. So if that's the way they do it again this time, I think, you know, it'll be a platform for a significant amount of expansion. But as it stands right now, the game is $30, which for what's in it right now is really, really fair. 5 characters, 15 careers, 13 levels, 4 difficulties. Yeah, that's a lot. And a very enjoyable co-op experience. Hello, anything in the crate? Nope. Take this bomb, though. Okay, this is where the second grimoire is. And I want to show you how to get to this one because it's kind of fun. And yes, the combat, of course the main part of the game you could say, oh, Chaos Warrior, is just as meaty and enjoyable as before, with tons of impact in the melee combat and huge amounts of satisfaction to be had in the ranged combat as well, because you are just laying down massive hordes of enemies, just hundreds of enemies per level, which is hard to find in other games. It's definitely the Left 4 Dead formula, just like the Oh god. Just like the first game was, only this time it just sort of graduated to its own kind of thing. Alright. This time let's try and find that button again. No, get away. Empty crate. Okay. There's a button here. Well, it's a brick, but it's a brick button. A button brick, if you will.
Time to stock up.
And there's another one. Up here. Just to show you some of the links you have to go to sometimes to find grimoires. Boop. I hear marching. Okay, so there's 2 buttons. There is another button way the crap over here. Oh boy. Ow. I'm just gonna let those guys handle that real quick while I search for a brick. And I believe it's up here. And this one took me 2 trips through this damn level to find, because you have to like crouch to see it. And I didn't see it the first time through because it's sort of hidden. It's way over here. You just gotta... Got it. And now, having pressed all 3 of those, the stairway down here... Oh, warp fire! Oh, let's see if we can avoid that patrol of storm vermin a little bit. We don't really need to deal with those guys. Or they can just, like, do that. Yeah, this opens up, lets you in here, and there's a grimoire. Got it. And as you can see, part of your health gauge is now taken up, and you can actually equip the grimoire and let it stare at you creepily, because, you know, sure. I would actually like to heal myself with that, real quick. Just, no. Alright, good. You know what, Curlian? And there we go. Uh-oh. Looks like we're not going to be able to avoid these guys. I'm going to start sniping them. Well, we were 3 for 3 there. So yeah. Clearly, they learned a lot from their first foray with Vermintide, and decided to do something pretty spectacular with Vermintide 2. I'm definitely excited for some of the planned DLC this time around to see what they're able to do with it. Well, that dude's dead. The boss fights are really hard, by the way. I'm a fan. But, man, those chaos spawn sometimes. Ow. The final tome is over there. Nope. Toss this over here. I'm actually not used to using the fire sword. Oh boy. So, if this looks like the kind of thing that you might enjoy, feel free to look in the description below for a link to the Steam store page where you can grab a hold of it. I would highly recommend it, especially if you've got a friend or 2 or 6 to play it with. Uh-oh, uh-oh, time to go, time to leave. Yeah, because it's pretty spectacular. And the objectives for the levels, I should also say, are another thing that have been improved in the variety sense. Because, because not every mission is simply get to the end. Let's see. This mission, for instance, at the end actually has a sort of, I won't say puzzle really, it's just more of an activity that you have to do as a team, or in this case as a single person because I'm with bots. We have to align this big array while being swarmed by enemies. And that's the last thing you do before you escape. And I'm about to get to that. And of course, the environments also have quite a bit of variety in them now too, from the city streets like you're used to in the original Vermintide, to ruins, from elven ruins like these to like underground dwarven ruins to swamps and forests. You know what? And even things like sort of crazy destroyed cities and mines it's pretty great. Oh, and farms. Don't forget farms, like in the Against the Grain mission. The game does have its occasional problems, though, crashing being one of them. Luckily, most of the crashes have actually been fixed by this point. At launch, it had worse problems, but now in the, we're at like one... Uh-oh. I wasn't watching my overcharge. In 1.04, we are finally free of the majority of the big crashing and hanging problems that the game actually launched with. I don't want to say all of them, because I don't have any proof of that yet, but a lot of them. Okay. Alright, everyone picking up healing? Okay, we're good. Let's go.
If we can realign the core,
Out of here. So, the game is absolutely worth your time. If you enjoyed the first Vermintide, this is it, but bigger, effectively. If you have never played the first Vermintide, this is really where to start. Because it is, in my opinion, the better game at launch. It's a more polished... Oh boy. More, I suppose, more varied, more fully featured and, sort of just feature complete game. Vanilla. Okay. Just gotta get this going. Just gotta get this going. We can do it. And by we, I mean me. Thanks, bots. I am hoping for maybe a bot improvement mod, like the first game had. Although the vanilla bots are still significantly better than the original game's vanilla bots. There we go. Come on. Here we go. Get out of here. Maybe we should have saved that for the survival wave at the end. I forgot about that. Uh-oh. Oh well. Almost got it. Come on. And nailed it. Okay. Now we just have to not die.
I'll burn anything that crosses our paths,
And then I can show you the, like, looting sort of mechanic at the end, and that'll be that. Thank you. I do love all the character chatter, by the way. The voice acting is, pretty fantastic. Alright, it's bomb territory. There we go. Okay, time to get out of here. See, we did just fine. Nothing horrible happened. Let's leave before something horrible happens.
You're wasting healing supplies like the elves hurling insults. Bit too much.
Uh-huh. And away we go. That was an example of your average mission, with bots, of Vermintide 2. Whew. And of course that was on Recruit, the easiest difficulty. The difficulties are locked behind getting a certain amount of power from loot before you can try them, and I would recommend having above that minimum amount and a pretty high level before you play, because the higher difficulties are pretty brutal. And a good group. Don't try them with bots. So close. There we go. A strong box. And you do get one of the big golden chests every time you level up as well. There we go. Yay! Okay, so if I just open that real quick. Just head over here.
At least the sun is shining,
And plop. Open it up. And sort of like card packs in certain games. Ooh, I got an orange. You can hover over these to see what color, what rarity the things will be. So I got a white and a green. You can see what it is. Ah, not bad. And an orange. Oh god, yes. A nice ring. Hey, that's actually not too bad. So there you go. That's how it works. And of course, all of these are good for the character I'm currently using. Which means you can kind of cheat the system by getting really good loot boxes and then changing characters to someone else that you want the loot for. So there you go. That is a game of Vermintide 2. highly recommend this game. Definitely go check it out if you're at all interested in games like this. It is a very good evolution on the sort of classic formula that a lot of us have known for a while, probably since Left 4 Dead, really. And more melee focused, of course, and set in the Warhammer Fantasy End Times universe. Can't really say too much bad about it, except for the somewhat bugginess of it, but that is definitely being fixed a lot faster and kind of in a better way than the first game's problems were. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.